Hello and welcome to UPSC Preparation Simplified, an initiative by Rao's I Study Circle. Now, you must have heard about the Naga issue. Now, Naga issue is a very important theme which you need to understand from the perspective of UPSC examination. Now, here we have Mr. Rahul Puri, who is a teacher of Political Science and International Relation, and he has a wonderful insight about this entire issue. So, sir, what is this Naga issue? What is its history, and how the entire episode has developed to this particular level?
Yes, so it requires a bit of to understand the present. As we say, we need to go back into the history. So again, the genesis of this issue lies in history. So normally, what as I teach internal security also in the class, what I have seen is normally students are not well aware about the kind of situation which we have in Northeast. One of the ignored ignored part, as if, or one of the least integrated part with the rest of the India, and there is a bit of ignorance also about the issues which are there, which are going on in the Northeast.
Of course.
So as I said, the present issue lies in the history. So the biggest one of the biggest reasons for the relative isolation of this region is the British policy of isolation, which they followed under the Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation Act, through which they brought ILP, Inner Line Permit. And under this policy of British, outsiders were not allowed to settle down in this region. So this region was relatively disconnected with the rest during the freedom movement too. So one of the strongest unitary force in India is the freedom movement, and that movement has not touched the northeastern part of India in a big way, the way it has touched the other parts.
Of course.
So this region was in relative isolation. Now after independence, the leaders of India realized that this region is relatively isolated and we need to integrate it with the rest of the India. So special provisions we gave under the constitution for the integration of this region under specific schedules. But the policy of the government, though the government was right in its intent, but government decided to integrate the Naga areas with the state of Assam and with the rest of the India. So the government policy was from isolation to integration, but on ground it felt as assimilation. And Northeast is one of the most diverse region within India. This region is known as mosaic of culture. So much of ethnic diversity prevails within this region. So here most of the issues most of the issues on which we have issues of violence here are the issues of identity. Okay, so people wants to protect their identity. They feel integration with India will dilute their identity. So when government started the policy of Assamization, they felt it assimilation, and this led to the first violent insurgency in the Naga area under the leadership of Fizo. Okay, so this is the historical aspect of this issue, and since then, despite the best of the efforts, government has failed to ensure or bring peace within Naga region.
So now you must have seen about the important aspect of history. Now, apart from history, there are many developments that have happened over a period of time in the Naga history, especially from the creation of NSCN. Now, how this creation of NSCN has created a bigger challenge for the government of India in terms of negotiating about the Naga issue.
Yes, sir. So government since independence always tried that peace, we need to integrate the regions peacefully. Government was ready to fulfill the aspirations of the people. Government signed multiple accords with other ethnic groups too. Like we were discussing that in Mizoram also there was an accord, Mizo Accord with MNF. Peace ushered in Mizoram. But what is the reason why government has failed to bring peace in Nagaland is because of the multiplicity of groups itself. Now first there was an organization called NNC, Naga National Council.
Yes.
So Fizo raised the flag of secessionism under NNC itself when refused to integrate with India and demanded sovereignty. So two types of issues are going on in Northeast. Few groups are demanding their own state. Few are demanding sovereign state. So Naga groups under Fizo aspired for sovereignty, their own independent state. Sovereign state within Northeast is a threat for our integrity, sovereignty. So government was very clear, sovereignty can't be given. Now government accepted the different identity of the Nagas, and finally government agreed to create a separate or carve out a separate state of Nagaland in '63. So Nagaland emerged, and then government government signed a Shillong Accord with the violent Naga rebel groups, and government offered amnesty. So the peace of prospect brightened, and we thought now the issue will be solved. But what happened was a new group emerged, that is NSCN, National Socialist Council of Nagaland, under the leadership of Isak, Muwa and Khaplang. Now, Khaplang, he was a Naga leader from Myanmar.
Yes.
So this is very important to know for the students, that Nagas are not only in the northeastern part of India. Nagas are living in the other side of the border too. They are in Myanmar
Yeah.
too. Okay, so now because ethnicity, these ethnic groups lives across the border too, this is the reason which has led to the more complexity of these issues. So Khaplang, he was a Naga leader from Myanmar. Now at that time, NSCN broadened their objective, and they came up with the objective of Nagaland or Greater Nagaland, under which their demand was integrate the territories wherever Nagas are. And Nagas are not only northeast, Nagas are in Myanmar too. So this aspiration of Nagalim is a challenge for the integrity of Myanmar too.
Yes.
The reason why we need a strong, we need to cooperate with the military leadership of Myanmar for the political stability of Northeast.
Now, when we talk about this entire issue of Naga, the topic of Nagalim comes very often. And when we talk about Nagalim, we need to actually define what kind of a territorial threat it will pose to other states of India, especially Northeast, and also how it is going to actually change the international space as well. Because we've talked about Myanmar, but there is one more active participant in that, and that is China as well.
Yes.
So can you throw some light about this Nagalim issue, not only in terms of international relation, but also in terms of internal relations in the Northeast?
Yes, so for this we need to see the territory which they are demanding. Now, at the time of independence, there was only one state, Assam. Rest of the states are carved out from Assam only on the basis of ethnicity. But as the region is so diverse, like Manipur created, okay, Arunachal became the state. Now Nagas are not only in Nagaland, Nagas are also in Assam, Nagas are in Manipur, and Nagas are in Arunachal, and they are in Myanmar too.
Yes.
So the secessionist leaders of NSCN asserted that we want our own sovereign state of Nagaland, right? But with time, what happened was that differences emerged between the leaders of NSCN itself, because Isak Muwa was looking forward for what? That the senior leadership should be under the control of Indian Naga leaders. Khaplang was asserting more leaders should be from Myanmar. Now this led to 1980 NSCN was created. 1988 NSCN split took place, and it split in two factions: NSCN IM faction and NSCN K faction. Now what this split led to what? A spate of violence between Naga groups. So much of the violence is not because only Nagas fighting against India. Much of the violence is because there are so many violent factions who are fighting with each other
Within the Nagaland.
within the Nagaland. Now, Manipur is one of the most violent states. The dominant tribes of Manipur are Meiteis, Kukis, and Nagas. These violent factions are in Manipur too, and they are fighting with with the violent factions of Meiteis and violent factions of Kukis. So much of violence because all these factions are fighting with each other. So this is the reason why government has failed to bring peace, because there are so many multiple factions. Okay, and this is the main reason for high violence within this region.
Now, when you look into the entire Naga issue, the year of 2015 can be considered as a watershed movement which actually changed the entire complexion of the discussion that we're going. Now, in this context, sir, what is the importance of this Naga Accord of 2015?
Yes, so as I said, 15 accord took place with one of the major faction, that is Isak Muwa faction. So dominant faction claims the leadership of the Nagas, and the leadership of IM faction agreed to have an accord with the government of India. So it's seen as a watershed movement regarding the peace process of Nagaland. But government at that time, when the accord was signed in 15, never informed anything in general to the public. So the text of the accord was not open for the public, but in 17 government tabled the report in Rajya Sabha. In Rajya Sabha, so government disclosed that what was decided under the accord was that government is ready to grant autonomy to the Nagas wherever they are. As I said, Nagas are not only in Nagaland, they are in Assam, Manipur and Arunachal. So government said that we have promised to give autonomy to the Nagas wherever they are, and IAM leadership has agreed for this particular position. Okay, and they are ready to change their or alter their goal of sovereignty. So in this light, government said that we have attained the peace, but within a year, differences emerged when the Isaac Muwa leadership claimed that at that time government promised us sovereignty, and because of the ambiguity of text which is there in the accord, both sides are not ready to move an inch, and both parties wants to hold their respective position.
Okay.
Government stand is it was autonomy. Isaac Muwa leadership, the stand of Isaac Muwa leadership, it was sovereignty, and this ambiguity has further led to the confusion of this.
So there is actually a deadlock right now.
Right now there is a deadlock, and government is under a lot of pressure to lift ASPA. Okay, so what will be the way forward, that we have to see.
Of course. So now we have understood the entire situation. So what should be the way forward in order to handle the situation, and also in terms of handling internal security better, what the government of India can do?
Yes. So the thing is, as I just said, because violence is because of the so many violent clashes going on between these factions, and they are trying to run their parallel government. Okay, the reason why government decided to keep these territories under AFPA, which itself is very controversial, and especially after this spate of violence, there's so much of pressure on the government to take the decision to uplift the AFPA. Now the thing is, government genuinely, in the beginning itself I said, government has always tried to bring peace and go for negotiations and discussion, and the stand of the government is doors for peace talk are always open. 2001 government signed the ceasefire agreement with NSC and IAM. At that time K faction was not ready. With time what has happened is new factions has emerged from these outfits like KM faction, R faction. So because so many factions are there, it is becoming more and more difficult for the government to sit and negotiate with someone. Okay, because there is no one point leadership within the Nagas. Other thing is 2015 again, that time we felt that now Naga issue will be settled, because 2014 Modi government announced Act East policy. Under Act East, one of the component was the development of Northeast, and development is not possible without peace in the region. So 14 onward, government has given lot of push for the peace process of this region, and government has signed peace accord with various other outfits like Bodos and others. Okay. Then 15 government offered peace to NSC and IAM, and a peace accord was signed in 15 at the residence of Prime Minister Modi. So that was the time we felt that now peace will usher. Now with time what has happened is, now both sides have taken a different position on the accord. So according to the leadership of IAM, their stand is that they felt that government is ready to give them a separate flag and constitution. Government is saying it was never on the agenda of the government that we will going to give them a separate flag and a constitution. Okay, so now again the peace process has reached to a dead end, because the faction IAM is adamant on their demand of sovereignty, and government is very clear, other than sovereignty we are ready to discuss all other issues except the issue of sovereignty.
Of course.
So this has led to the deadlock on this particular issue.
Now, if you look at this entire issue, the issue of sovereignty comes into picture when we talk about the issues of Naga. Now, when we look into the first article of Constitution of India, which says that India, that is Bharat, shall be a unit of state, and it is an indestructible unit. And since it is an indestructible unit, somewhere this is something which is non-negotiable for the government of India. Now we need to understand this issue in more detail as well, and we need to focus on AFSPA as well. Now this was the part 1 of the series where Mr. Rahul Puri sir has shared his wisdom and knowledge about the issue. In the second part, we'll discuss more about AFSPA Act. So stay tuned and wait for the next video.